Hey everybody, welcome back once again to Alethea. It's wonderful to have all of you here with me once again. My name is Alex and I'm your grateful host on this wonderful channel. And we are once again on our journey toward truth. And I'm so grateful to be able to drop this video and to give you a piece of my mind, so to speak. And so I just wanted to talk to you about how we are being manipulated and have been manipulated by mainstream media sources, newspapers, news programs, basically the generalized mediums from which we extract our daily news and understanding of what's going on in the world around us. And so the thing that has been gnawing at me lately is the realization that so many people are manipulated by news sources into accepting premises for their stories that are maybe or may not be exactly the way that they report them to be. And one of the things that I've noticed that news reporters like to use, one of their tools, is to put in statements such as experts tell us or experts agree and a yada yada yada. They go off on their merry way with their story, and you're left to guess as to who these experts exactly are. Sometimes they will interview someone or drop a name in there, somebody with a name that has a lot of other letters behind it, that studied at such prestigious institutions as Harvard or Princeton or Oxford or whatever, and they will say, this person is renowned in this area and knows what they're talking about. They've done their studies, and this is what they conclude. And so that's what we should believe. So, as someone who is pursuing truth on a daily basis, this is something that I have learned to be wary of, simply because a lot of the times what these news stories are pushing are stories that I find very difficult to believe. And I think a lot of us have been woken over the past few years, especially because of the pandemic and all that it entailed, to realize that not everything that we see or read in the news is exactly the truth. But my concern is, well, why do so many people believe what they read and take it for gospel and will actually laugh at you if you present a more reasonable counterpoint, even though they don't know, they don't have any background themselves, they haven't studied these things themselves, yet they have such confidence in knowing that what they are repeating from what they've read and what they've heard on the news is true and it to be the truth, and that anything that goes against that truth is obviously misinformation or disinformation. And some of us have even been canceled or our friends have turned away from us simply because we question the status quo, the mainstream media diktats on what is true and what is not true. And the whole idea of experts is very fishy to me because this use of this term experts seems to me to be a device in which these news agencies use to place validity upon what they're writing with the expectation that the reader will not do his or her own study of the subject to ascertain exactly both sides, all the sides, and make sure that they have come to a reasonable understanding of this particular subject. And for me, my goal as a consumer of the news is the old Ronald Reagan axiom, trust but verify. And this is a wisdom that we need to embrace every time that we are consuming news or hearing news, even getting X posts or Instagrams or anything like that, especially if something is being reported that does not seem to make any sense to us. And it's always good for us to have that healthy skepticism whenever we are consuming the news. And for me, I choose to follow news sources that give me the unvarnished news without any editorializing, without any sort of manipulation involved. And I would suggest that you, as well, in my audience, do the same thing. Make it a point to research the subjects that you find interesting and that the news is reporting on to make sure that what they're reporting on is actually the whole story. And most of the time, it isn't. And there have been so many hoaxes over the years that the media, the mainstream media, has reported, has fallen for. And it's crazy, but many people still remain trustful of the media, of their favorite newspapers or news programs and weekend television, that they simply forget all the times that the news has been wrong. And I can understand that need, that desire to do so, because most people are not willing or ready to do the research necessary to come to the whole truth. They're willing to just receive whatever it is they hear and believe it. And that's a very dangerous thing, because we know from the Bible that the enemy of our souls, Satan, is a liar and he's a deceiver and he's the prince of the power of the air. And that includes radio waves, TV waves, and Wi Fi that we receive all these signals from and information from. And Satan has been deceiving so many people over so many years. And it's wonderful to know that there's a lot of people that are breaking away from these traditional news sources and turning toward independent news sources. That's wonderful. Just continue to remain skeptical, even though you might have found a news source that you trust, that delivers the news, the kind of news that interests you, that sustains your particular political bent, which is fine. That's the way the news was from the beginning when newspapers were first founded, especially in America. Everyone knew which newspapers, which publications were either left or right or centrist. There was none of this idea of the independent news or mainstream news where there's no biases involved. That is a fallacy that goes against human tendencies, against the human nature. And it should not be any news source that tells you that they're fair and balanced, or that they are simply there to deliver the straight news. You need to run away from. They are lying to you. They are not telling you the truth, because that's completely impossible. It's very rare that any news service could possibly provide sources for news that are completely unbiased. You would, especially when journalism schools have regularly reported to have graduated people who are about 90 to 95% left of center in their political ideology. That's fine. That is totally fine. I understand. If it's not my place to judge somebody's political viewpoints, the problem is when the news is presented in a way that tries to manipulate us into believing that it is the unvarnished truth and that it should not be questioned at all, that I have a big problem with. And so I hope this helps you. I hope this has opened your eyes. I pray for you, and I trust that God will continue to lead you and me toward a constructive dialogue when it comes to our mutual search for truth. Please leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know who you are, where you're from, and if you have any questions, concerns, or comments. God bless you. Have a great and happy new year.